Welcome back to my channel. This is Coach DC from All 22 Films, and tonight we're going to take a look at the impact that Demarcus Lawrence had, specifically in the Seattle Seahawks goal line or short yardage defensive look that was borderline impenetrable in 2025. I'm only going to go over 4 plays in this video, and you're going to see, first of all, Lawrence show up, but also how Mike Macdonald and Seattle's defense, I think, were able to force concessions from some of the best offensive play callers in the NFL. This is week 16. The Rams facing a 4th and inches, or 4th and 1, I guess officially, on their first possession. They go 13 personnel under center. Here's the goal line look that I'm referring to. I've actually done a couple of videos about this earlier in the 2025 season. In fact, I did one after Seattle's NFC Division round win over the 49ers. But what characterizes it is 4 down linemen in the middle of the formation, taking up the 2 A gaps and the 2 B gaps. Oftentimes 2 inside linebackers backing them up. And then Nick Impenetrable walked up as one of the edge defenders. A actual edge defender walked up to the other side. What makes it all work, for me, is Demarcus Lawrence. In addition, the ability of Impenetrable to walk up and portray or act as an edge defender on any given snap. Here, Impenetrable is set up to the weak side, and it's a run concept off tackle, again, against a 1-high safety structure. That's Kobe Bryant back there, all by himself at the 3rd level of the defense. And in Nwosu, great job. If you ask me, he's possibly being held. It looks worse from the end zone angle than it does here on the All-22. It's a great play by Josh Jobe to come up and hit the running back Kyren Williams. But also another example of Demarcus Lawrence just showing up with his physicality, his level of violence, and then his contact balance, meaning after engaging an offensive lineman, taking on blocks here, his posture's broken, upper body is almost parallel to the ground. He's able to torque back to the play, and really, Jobe, great effort on the low tackle. Demarcus Lawrence is the guy that tackles Kyren Williams a little bit short. Combined effort, like so many things on Seattle's team in 2025. Let's look at the same play from the end zone angle again. This is from week 16. I believe it's the Rams' first possession. If I had that information incorrect, my apologies. But keep in mind, when I zoom in here in a moment, you will not see Uchenna Nwosu as the left side edge defender, nor will you see Impenetrable because we'll zoom in significantly. I want to get some terminology out of the way. So you got 2 A-gap defenders here, and you can see the helmet there of Byron Murphy. But what I really want to talk about is Lawrence, not just kicking down as a defensive tackle. He's in a 4-eye. So basically him and Leonard Williams are in mirrored alignments. 4-eye means inside shade of the tackle. And sometimes your visual key is still the guard that you're lined up outside of. Sometimes your visual key is the tackle who has you out leveraged. Regardless of what the visual key, the pressure key, the guy you would expect to block you, is of course the offensive tackle. This again is the end zone angle, the same failed 4th and inches run play. You got the tight end in motion. They're going to basically provide or try to execute a late double team or delayed double on Nwosu. Nwosu gets upfield, resets the line of scrimmage. He is being grabbed by someone on the interior. I think it's actually the first tight end who engaged him here. Here's the helmet of the second tight end. Forgive me if the zooming in is too abrupt. I hope it's not, difficult for you to see. Jobe, as you can recognize on the left-hand side of the screen, the 9 o'clock position, he's unblocked. He's going to come up, make first contact, and you can see Demarcus Lawrence, his body is almost turned, his upper body is almost turned parallel to the line of scrimmage. Like I said, I feel like Drake Thomas plays this a little bit too far inside. I think with a 2 inside linebacker structure, you don't necessarily want to see him go underneath of this block here, especially with the way Nwosu's playing it. But to be honest with you, in some of these situations early in 2025, they did this from a 1 inside linebacker look. So 1 inside linebacker would be on the field, and then you would have a 2 safety structure. So basically 1 Mike backer. Imagine Ernest Jones IV moved over on the midline here, and then Drake Thomas would not be on the field. They would have 2 safeties, oftentimes Julian Love and Kobe Bryant. It's a great example, if you ask me, of the effort, the tenacity that these guys play with, in particular in these 4th down situations, not just 4th and 1 or short yardage situations. It's not just the look, the scheme, the concept that Mike Macdonald and Aiden Durde showed. It's the violence with which the Seattle Seahawks defenders played, really exemplifying everything that McDonald and Durday wanted those guys to put out there on film. And when I say put out there on film, what I mean is give other teams' play callers, in this case Sean McVay, same game, by the way, week 16. It's actually a 4th and 1 they faced on their second possession. Same 13 personnel grouping, same formation. A slightly different look here in that you've got Julian Love walked up as a weak side safety, which I kind of question, to be honest with you, a little bit. But the Rams are making it look like the same play, right? Where you get a late double on the edge defender with the outside tight end stepping to him first. I think it's Ferguson. He's actually going to catch a touchdown pass here. And then the tight end who goes in motion, engaging him second. Because it's a little bit of a substitution, what I mean is you've got a Manwari down here. Job is off the field. I don't believe there was an injury situation here. I think this is just McDonald and Durday saying, hey, we want to get our best run stoppers on the field here. It's 4th and, well, it's not even really 4th and 1. It's like 4th and 3 inches. In any case, Manwari is looking in the backfield right as Stafford is executing the play fake to Kyron Williams, and then pulls the football back, and Manwari too far up. Easy touchdown at that point from Stafford. I think it's Drake Thomas with a QB hit or a quarterback pressure. My point is, I mean, it's a successful play for the Rams, don't get me wrong. My point is they've forced certain teams, in this case the Rams, and in a moment the 49ers, to make concessions, essentially admitting we can't run the ball with a high percent conversion rate on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 against that look. You have convinced us to decide to do something else. In this case, obviously, like I said, it was successful for the Rams on their second possession. Moving forward a little bit here during the season, NFC Divisional round game against the 49ers. In fact, the first possession for San Francisco, again, kind of shows off the versatility of Leonard Williams, Demarcus Lawrence, and Nick Manwari. Now, they set Manwari up as the edge defender to the right, and that happens to be the strong side, at least pre-motion. You've got a tight end, fullback, and then receiver down here to the bottom side of the screen. So we would consider this 22 personnel. And Seattle was matching it from their nickel look, from their nickel-based defense. Nickel DB there, 4 down linemen. Inside linebacker walked up as an edge defender. Inside linebacker, Ernest Jones. And then here is Julian Love as one of the safeties. So they've essentially recreated a 6-2 look by bumping Manwari down to a defensive end, edge defender, and bumping Love down to an inside linebacker position, kicking the actual inside linebacker, Drake Thomas, off to the edge to the left. Hopefully, I said that all in a way that makes sense. When I mentioned or tried to describe it as concessions earlier, this is what I mean. The 49ers on a 4th and 1 first possession, NFC Divisional round, they go to what I refer to as sweep options. So basically, it's a sweep path by the fullback, and then Christian McCaffrey is in pitch relationship, and in fact, they do try to pitch it late. It's Demarcus Lawrence. I mean, this is spectacular football play. He kind of widens up a little bit with his alignment. Here is Lawrence right now. And then you can see he kicks out a little bit wider. Perhaps Ernest Jones IV told him to do that. Perhaps he had an idea that you were going to get not one motion, but actually, a second shift in the case of the fullback 44. There's Lawrence lined up wider than the tight end, so he's not allowing himself to get reached by the tackle. Ends up being the guy to engage the fullback, force the pitch a little bit late. Drake Thomas was there as well. Like I said, it's a deterrent. Force teams, make teams realize, recognize, admit, at least internally to themselves, we can't convert with simple off-tackle runs or even quarterback sneak or tight end sneak, tush push, if you will. So we've got to go to something different that is, from a Seattle Seahawks standpoint, at least a tactical win. And what I mean by that is whittling down or reducing the possible options for the offensive play caller to utilize. Did some teams convert? Sure, they did. Here's a 3rd and 1, in fact, where the Rams kind of reveal their hand. Keep in mind that the touchdown from the Week 16 game, again, which I believe was on their second possession. So the way that Seattle is getting into this look is a little bit different now. And Manwari is not on the field. So you do have an inside linebacker. I think that's Knight here. And then one more time, they've walked Love up to be an inside linebacker or a second-level defender. Let's refer to him that way. But in any case, they're spot shadowed or highlighted in blue, you see the 6-2 look that I'm referring to. One high safety structure, that's Bryant at the 3 o'clock position. For you guys, going to make it look like motion by the tight end, and then he's going to return to the top side, the left-hand side of the offense. And down here is where, remember, you had on the previous touchdown, you had the tight end step down to block and then release into the end zone, the outside tight end, while the inside tight end actually did run block. Amanwari kind of had his eyes in the backfield. They've taken Amanwari off the field here, and they run a different concept. Now, I don't know whether this is a PD or not. I mean, even from the end zone angle, which I don't think I'm going to show you, you can't tell. But what I do know is it's a great play by Nwosu. In addition, if you've ever done, wide receiver or tight end drills, you're probably familiar with a pole or different objects being put in front of your face mask and perhaps moving side to side, right to left. Whether the ball touches the pole or not, it's extremely difficult to focus on the ball anything inside of the last 6 or 8 feet before you try to catch it. Essentially, what I'm offering to you is maybe this is officially a drop by 84, and Nwosu doesn't touch the ball at all statistically. Nonetheless, I think it's a great play. In addition, if Seattle had lined up the way they did on the previous iteration I showed against the Rams, where Julian Love was over here, you can expect that Julian Love would react to this over concept, this play action over concept. The larger point for me is the Rams aren't trying to run the ball. They've been deterred or convinced that it's going to reduce the percentage of the chances of them actually converting. And in this case, it comes back to haunt them, drop, PD, whatever you want to call it. It's a great example of the awareness that Seattle's defenders play with, and I don't think it's random. I will actually give you one more play that doesn't include Seattle's goal line look, but I think that kind of makes my point for me. In fact, it's the very next snap. After that incomplete pass to the tight end, 4th and 1, Seahawks lead. A little over halfway left in the fourth quarter, 31-27. We know the score stays that way. Devin Witherspoon is involved with 2 PDs to end this possession down there inside the 10-yard line. Stafford actually converts this on a scramble. It is Demarcus Lawrence who plays a role here in this. I think the call here, even though it's 11 personnel, I think the call was show goal line, because you can see that Knight is walked up here, and then Julian Love is making a hand signal, quite obviously getting guys into a different look. So they'll walk the inside linebacker Knight back, and once you get the motion by the tight end, the out motion, Love's going to walk down, and basically he takes over too. So he's going to end up guarding Devontae Adams on this little outcut. I think this is Witherspoon on the tight end. You do have a matchup here. Nakua, he pops open. I would say Nakua pops open late, but by that time, Demarcus Lawrence has already got some pressure, and Stafford is trying to move up to get the first down. Possibility of Stafford maybe flipping the ball to a running back who you can see before I spot shadow right here. The line to gain is illustrated by that black line all the way across the screen. Nakua popping open late if there weren't pressure. I think it's a great job by Lawrence of adjusting his rush path, essentially getting upfield here and then jumping back inside. One of the plays he didn't make in 2025 in a clutch situation. I would expect him to be able to tackle Stafford short of that line, but nonetheless a little bit too high. Stafford slips out of it and is able to gain the first down. I love this look by Seattle. I wonder if other teams are going to try to recreate it in 2026. As far as that particular play goes, great effort by both of those guys, but mostly Matt Stafford, obviously, to get the conversion. Lawrence, to me, really makes it go. I understand that Amanwari does as well, but Demarcus Lawrence's ability to be an edge defender in the base nickel position, whether that's a 9 technique, a 5 technique, if there's no tight end there, and then slide down to that 4-eye. Hopefully you recall the second play that I showed you, actually the second angle of the first play that I showed you, where he's in a 4-eye, basically lined up in the B gap. And look, I covered this actually earlier in the year. After, I think it was not just after the division round win over the 49ers. I talked about it after their road win against the Jags, where the defense was dominant that week, right? 7 sacks, held Jacksonville to 4 of 16 on third downs. You win a road game against a very good team, despite your own offense, Seattle's that is, going 1 of 12 on third downs, losing the time of possession like roughly 33 to 27, and then not being able to generate much on the ground. I think it was like 29 or 30 carries for 60 yards. My point is, overall, my point, in a league where coaches are increasingly willing to go for it on fourth down, McDonald and Durday have a deterrent from one particular play concept, or I guess actually two, right? The off tackle run concepts on fourth and short, direct flow. All right, whether it's power, zone, whatever. In addition, the tush push quarterback / tight end sweep or sneak, excuse me, those have been reduced or taken away. There's some evidence here, I should say, that those have been taken away. Teams like the Rams and the 49ers came up with their own calls, play action pass in the case of LA, and then the fullback sweep option between Juszczyk and Christian McCaffrey in the NFC divisional round. Look at the fourth and 1 play where Stafford scrambled. It's 8.5 minutes left in the game, roughly. Notice what they didn't try to do. They didn't try to line up in 13 personnel and run the ball again. Or go play action. Presumably Seattle would have been prepared, for another 13 personnel under center play action concept, which is basically what they had seen in previous situations. Even, I will say this, even looking in the Super Bowl, I couldn't find a ton of 3rd and 1s or 4th and 1s for the Patriots offense, right? They were in 3rd and long a lot. A couple of 3rd and 4s one in the third quarter, the second half, to open the third quarter, I should say, one of which was a really nice physical pass defense by Josh Jobe against Booty. Then the biggest one for me that I noticed in looking back here today was a 3rd and 1 in the third quarter, a little over 7:20 left in the third quarter. It's still a 12-0 game. Talking about the Super Bowl. At that point, it felt like domination because Seattle's defense was, what they were doing. They were in so much control. But in any case, it's a 3rd and 1. A little over 7 minutes left. New England goes 11 personnel, and they don't line up in anything resembling, an under center power formation. And I think it's because they knew that they weren't going to be successful. They knew they weren't going to be able to handle Seattle's defensive front. The talent, the physicality of those guys is a huge factor. Don't get me wrong. The scheme, the look, those 4 down linemen, 2 A-gap players, 2 B-gap players, those wide set defensive ends or edge defenders, and the 2 inside linebackers that can scrape in between. Basically, we, the Seahawks, this is what they're saying, in my opinion, we're going to beat you on any kind of physical run concept, and we're going to reduce or remove that from your available options. And as far as New England goes in that situation, they lined up Drake May in the gun from 11 personnel. I think it was an incomplete pass that maybe Drake May could have put in a better spot, better location, I should say. Technically, on the ensuing 4th and 1 from their own 41-yard line, in this day and age, you would expect that a lot of teams would go for it. Granted, they were, getting dominated from the standpoint of what Seattle's defense was doing, and they punted. Actually, 3 consecutive 3-and-outs for the Patriots to open the third quarter, none of which involved a goal line matchup at all. But that one that I'm talking about, I think, is important. There's many other teams who would have said either 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, we're going to line up in 22 personnel, 21 personnel, whatever, or even tush push, and we're going to get the first down. And increasingly, it's my opinion that this goal line look from McDonald and Durday is really a huge deterrent from teams even attempting concepts like that. When you get a concession at the highest level of the sport, in my opinion, that's a big deal, even though, you or maybe other people, commenting might think, okay, this really only affects 3% of the game or less than 2% of the game. I think it can be a critical factor when you as an offense tacitly admit, either out loud or just by the play calls that you don't use, that we can't go out there and pick up 4 inches or 6 inches or 12 on a critical 4th and short. You're more than welcome to have a different opinion of me. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. I labeled it, Demarcus Lawrence's impact because I think he's a huge part of this scheme. Along with Nick Manwari, don't get me wrong. I thought Ty Okada played things really well in this look as well earlier in the season when he got an opportunity. It looks like perhaps he'll get a chance this year. In any case, if you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. Number two, if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy my perspective as well as the film that I showed and then the commentary, which I saved till the end, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Appreciate you guys' time.